Hello, beautiful souls. So, as promised, like I said in my last video, that I would go ahead and do a video on the rebirthing process and the death portal that I went through to birth Poppy into existence. So it was very intentional, and I'm really grateful that I have a husband that supports me because I recently quit my job at a halfway house and unplugged my energy from all that toxic, heavy energy. So that way I could really put energy into my business and doing the things that I'm passionate about and that bring me pleasure. And so that said, he supported that financial move that I made during Venus retrograde, which we are leveling up because Venus retrograde, like the last 18 months ago, we were fighting about money. And this time we did really good with our shifts around money. And I'm really proud of us. And this video will be coming out after Venus retrograde has completed, but totally bragging and celebrating that. Anywho, though, so the financial burden of me leaving my job so I can follow my passions and my heart and my pussy and my pleasure um led to me wanting to do a rebirthing process with myself. And I asked him if I could do a couple days at an Airbnb, and I didn't really know what the process was entailing. I just knew I was supposed to work with a yoni egg to rebirth myself and let Poppy be born and lay Tisha to rest, which for those of you who don't know what a yoni egg is, it is a crystal. I don't have mine with me. It's in my pussy church. But it's a crystal. I have a crystal here right now. This is hematite. But a yoni egg is going to be shaped oval like this. It's not going to be flat like that though. It's going to be egg shaped. And I don't know about the small size. This might be the small size, but the medium size is a little bit bigger than this. And some have holes drilled into them, so you can put a string through it and then insert it and be able to get it out by pulling the string, and others don't. It depends on where you are in your yoni practice. And with a yoni egg, they say that it helps. Well, I guess the physical side is it helps tighten the pelvic floor muscles, which is not why I started my yoni egg practice, but that's why some people do, because they've had children and want to tighten the pelvic floor. However, my reason for doing a yoni egg practice is I want to heal my womb space and my pussy and my ovaries and my clitoris and my labia and everything that's down there that makes up my feminine magic portal. So I figured that doing a yoni egg meditation and maybe sleeping with the yoni egg would be helpful in birthing Poppy. And originally I was going to try to sleep with the yoni egg all night, but being that it was the first time working with the yoni egg, my yoni did not want to sleep with it all night. It kept feeling like I had to pee, and it kept trying to do anything it could to kind of not settle into it. And I understand that because it's never had a yoni egg inside of it, right? It's an unknown, so it had to feel safe and like it had control. So I went ahead and I took my yoni egg out after a couple of hours, but I did do a yoni egg womb meditation that was really good. Well, I don't think it was specifically for the yoni egg, but I used it as a womb meditation while I was doing the yoni egg, and it was amazing, all the energy that cleared. And part of the reason I wanted the Airbnb was I didn't know if I was going to have an emotional purge using the yoni egg in such a area that has gone through trauma. And I didn't want Chris to have the onslaught of that. I wanted to be in my energy as I processed that out, because I believe you have to feel to heal. And I didn't want him influencing what I'm feeling because I don't feel safe in fully expressing or whatever. I knew it was really deep practice. And then I realized what was going on when I got there was that it wasn't just an emotional purge. It was more I was rebirthing myself and laying parts of myself to rest. And I really needed to be with myself and to honor myself to do that. And Chris was great because originally I was just going to do 2 days away. And he's like, how about you do like 3 days, which was perfect because three is like a holy number and it's a completion number. And yeah, 72 hours seemed perfect for laying myself to rest, birthing myself, and reconnecting to the love that brought Chris and I together in our initial connection. And I didn't really try to control. I set the intention that while I was there at the Airbnb, that I let my yoni, my pussy, take the lead and do whatever she wants. And I took my mind out of the equation and just let her do what she wanted. And during that time away, Chris also underwent a rite of passage. My first night there, Chris went on a mushroom medicine journey that was very intentional. And I could tell when I woke up in the morning the next day that he had remembered a lot of stuff that he had forgotten. And I could tell he had activated a lot of his potential and that he had made a massive leap into his masculine, which, mind you, all this went on during Lionsgate Portal. And it wasn't like planned like that. It just kind of landed that way. So I thought it was really interesting that we were unified in love at that time, going through Lionsgate, even though we were in our own separate rites of passage. So I was really like amused and proud of us because it also was us breaking codependency and being in our energy, yet being unified. And we both made it out the other side and like the higher timeline that we were aiming for, which led us to moving to Florida and being totally supported in our move and everything just falling into place in the ways that we'd been envisioning and desiring. Even better than what we imagined and with more ease than what we imagined, and just much more delightful than what we imagined. And yeah, this Lionsgate portal was very, very powerful. And like people talk about Lionsgate, it's a portal that has really big energy, something to do with like Sirius Star or something like that. It happens on 8/8. So it was interesting too because Poppy was born on 8/8, which was not my intention. And I thought it was just so cool. Like I realized when I went to Walgreens to go get some headphones, because I purposely tried not to go back to our house for anything. I wanted to honor the container of the birthing chambers. And so I had to go to a Walgreens down the street to get some headphones because I was going to do brain spotting with my soul sister that night on my marriage. And oddly enough, I was led to the makeup aisle to get lipstick, which I never buy lipstick. And I do like lipstick. It's just it lasts me such a long time. Like I never go buy it. And the lipstick that I was gravitated towards and pulled towards was this beautiful bright red. And when I looked at the bottom of it, it was called Poppy, and it was the last one of this lipstick, which is what I'm wearing right now. And wow, Poppy's lips be popping. So anyways, I remember purchasing the lipstick. I was like, whoa, this is such a great message from the Divine Mother. Like Poppy is born, Poppy is here. And I remember sitting in my car with the lipstick and I was like, wow, like just like real birth, like Poppy arrived at like 2 in the afternoon. It was an overcast day, but it was like beautiful weather after like such a like heat wave. And yeah, life continued on around me. Like the world didn't stop. Like nothing crazy happened. Just Poppy arrived, and I knew she had arrived through that lipstick tube. And that is the birthing moment of Poppy, where I just remember her fully arriving and like voila, I am here with this bright red, which is also connected with the root chakra. So very interesting. And that was on 8/8, which the Airbnb I had rented on 8/7, the night of 8/7, 8/8, and 8/9, and I came back on 8/10, I think. And during that time, like obviously I didn't go into like labor. But there was birth going on through the yoni egg work. There was birth going on through the brain spotting. There was laying to rest old identities, old wounds, old narratives during all of this as well. I took it really easy. I took baths every night, 3 nights in a row. I worked with the flower essences, California poppy, pomegranate, and yarrow. Yarrow was used for clearing out psychic pollution, and pomegranate is used for like creative energies as well as warm, nurturing energies and the energetics of abundance. And it's also used as a feminine healing flower essence, which I thought really complemented the California poppy, because the California poppy is not only used just for mother wound healing, it's also used for rebuilding or rebirthing yourself and being in times of transition. And so these three essences together worked really deeply in me, especially because I put them in my bath too. So then it's working in my aura, and then I ingested them. So it's working inside of me. And during that time, like I allowed myself to have whatever emotional releases I needed, which really it just felt like my body like was tired. Just like I imagine real labor, you're tired. And when you're dying, you're probably tired too. I don't know. And so it was just really tired. And so I just was like really gentle with myself. I made myself healthy meals. Um, one of the days I took myself to the river at the nature center, which I hadn't been in so long. And it was so beautiful because there was like I really wanted to be in the sun. I really wanted to ground. I really wanted to journal and get my intentions down for Lionsgate. And I forgot my freaking citronella oil, and I was like, "Oh, you should probably go back and get it, and maybe you should just cancel." And then there was this lady there that was like, "Oh, I have off spray that I use because they sometimes get in the bookstore," and it was perfect. So then I was able to like cover myself in bug spray, and I bought 2 books about trees, which have to do with grounding and nature and root chakras and the Divine Mother. I was very much in the Divine Mother energy these whole 3 days, like nonstop. Like I was mothering myself, I was being mothered. I had like my yoni egg stuff going, which it was like my pussy was acting like the midwife, but so was the Divine Mother. And like I just felt so held in love and community, even though I was completely by myself this whole time. It was really, really beautiful. And so I bought a book called Mother of All Trees and then another book called The Everglades, so I could get familiar with the new area where my roots are going and where I'm taking Poppy, right? As a mother, you want to be familiar where you're taking your child. And so yeah, and then I sat and I just journaled and I wrote intentions, and I journaled about what happened during brain spotting, which brain spotting happened on the second night that I was in the birthing chambers. And I journaled about that and connected the dots with some things. And then I went to the river, and it was so nice because like the river changes all the time. And that's what I love about the river is like every single year that I've been here in Albuquerque, all my favorite spots always change, and the growth changes, like the water levels change, the trees change. Like yesterday I saw some trees that had fallen over, which made me really sad. But then it was so cool going to like the riverbanks because there was so much beautiful growth going on, and like I found this nice, beautiful, secluded spot. And that day too, like I with the water levels so low and then it being a really hot day, nobody was there, and I walked all the way to the edge and I did a bunch of dancing and prayer and just laying to rest Tisha and honoring her. And I worked a lot with Kali Ma energy and just was like, here, Kali, take her and help her be laid to rest so that way Poppy can thrive and honor her predecessor and all the work that her predecessor did, but also to lay down those old stories, those old narratives that aren't suiting me anymore. Narratives that came up during my brain spotting session, but also just narratives that were like unknown to me. And then I used 3 sticks, and with the sticks I did swoops over my whole body. So like I would rub like a stick like on my arm, like extracting all the fear, all the shame, all the guilt, all the anger, all the blame of like of Tisha, who I was, extracting all that. And then I would give the stick to the river and be like, all right, Sister River, please take this to Grandmother Ocean and have her purify and make it better. Because that's what grandmothers do, right? They make everything better. And you don't have to think about it. You just give it to her. And I was like, I'm done with control. I'm done with perfectionism. Let me go ahead and do this. And then I did another round of the stick, making way for like Poppy. And then I did another round with the stick, cleaning out all the junk with my marriage and just giving it to Sister River. And then I could tell Grandmother Ocean was just so happy that I'm about to come back and that I was seeking her love and comfort, that I'd finally made peace with myself about a lot of things. And so yeah, I did that. And then I like sunbathed and I just talked to the sky and had my hands up, and I celebrated everything that was going on in my life at that time. I celebrated having the space to have a birthing chamber. I celebrated Chris's generosity. I celebrated like that the birthing chambers were in such a like secluded, perfect little area where like it was just so nice. And I celebrated that they inspired me to want like my own one bedroom little apartment just specifically for writing, because I wrote such a good blog that day explaining like what Pussy Church is and everything, which is on the Gypsy Sky Synergy.com website. And like I was just in such a good flow, like creative flow there. And so like I celebrated having that brought into my awareness, like, oh, it would be great to have this space to create in. And I celebrated like having the money for the yoni egg. I celebrated my wonderful flower essences helping me. I celebrated all the love that I put into myself. And like I celebrated by sharing it with Father Sky and Mother Earth and just talking out loud about everything. And then I put in all my gratitudes. I was like, I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful Chris remembered. I'm so grateful that he's made this shift. I'm so grateful for the medicine of mushrooms helping him remember and helping me. Like mushrooms like do so much in nature, and they like provide nourishment to trees and stuff, and they also help get rid of decay as well. Like they work in such a multifaceted way. And like the medicine of the mushrooms in Chris's mushroom journey was like just so powerful. I will not talk about that here because it's not my business to talk about here, but I will acknowledge and recognize the beauty that they brought to our connection and the nourishment that they brought to our connection through working with him and guiding him. And I acknowledge in my own journey how much they help me because I do microdosing with them as well as my own medicine journeys with them. And they just really help me make peace with parts of myself that need peace. They shine light on the parts that need light. And yeah, they were just so present on this birthing chamber experience. And while I did not microdose because I was brain spotting, like I could still feel the energy of the mushrooms there nurturing me and helping Poppy receive the nutrients that she needed, and helping Chris receive nutrients to hold space for the newly born woman that was going to come home to him as Poppy Pendleton. And yeah, so there was all that going on. And then with the brain spotting, like it was just so cool because I brain spotted on um my marriage. I brain spotted on what it was to be engaged. I brain spotted on the wedding day, and I brain spotted on like the initial start of our relationship. And so many things were just like pieced together for me through that brain spotting session where I was like, whoa, like it's so fascinating how the brain hides and protects and organizes things. Like we really are barely not even scratching the tip of what all the brain does. But I was just so grateful that the brain like unpacked stuff and processed stuff and moved stuff out so that way I can more fully open my heart to the love that is Chris and I, the love that is the alchemy of our souls that brought us together, the love that we're both here to express as a team unified in love, the love that is our own unique styles that complement one another, and that like humanity is better having received from us, the love that is the beauty that is us. Like brain spotting really helped highlight that, and it really helped unpack all the stuff that was taken away from it, which I realized as I was brain spotting that because you process in the days after. And it was so fascinating what came up for me afterwards, especially as I was like laying Tisha to rest, right? Like Tisha was so in love with her ex-ray, like so in love with him, that she discovered twin flames and clung to the label of twin flames because she refused to lay that connection to rest. She refused to let go of the toxicity. She refused to look at her own part in things. She refused to look at all the red flags. Like, and it's okay because that's the inner education she had at that time. However, as Poppy, the inner education is different. And I realized that holding on to the twin flame dynamic and holding on to this misplaced loyalty and misplaced love with like this ex partner of mine really did create a wedge in my marriage, in my relationship with Chris, just like Chris holding on to some of his own stuff with his exes that he's now working on through EMDR had created some types of wedges with us, which he has now unpacked some of it. And it's just amazing, like the prosperity and the love and the blessings that are flowing through our household and through us. And just giving way to all these creative opportunities. It's like so cool. And it's humbling. And it's just like really cool to see our growth. And so anyways, the brain for like a day wanted to unpack and process all the stuff around Ray and all the things that like I held on to around him. And um it really helped me lay him to rest as I laid Tisha to rest. Like that story is no more. Like twin flames, like I'll do a video on it eventually, but I don't think a lot of people will like my direction with twin flames, which is fine. Aquarius way shower, supposed to think outside the box, right? And supposed to share things outside the box. So that time will come when it's meant to. But however, laying that narrative to rest, letting go of that misplaced love, that misplaced loyalty, letting go of that loyalty to past life pain that that connection had, letting it all go and giving it to Sister River and Grandmother Ocean really freed up just like a whole channel of love within me and within my heart to better show up for my marriage and my husband and myself. And it really helped me love myself more deeply, because I wasn't busy shaming myself or guilting myself for things that I was unaware of. Like the brain spotting helped bring things to my awareness so that I could better love myself and have self-awareness and let things go, and better love my husband and not be so on edge and not take things so personal as he's like on edge about things that he's working through, right? And it just gave me a lot more like strength and discernment, and it really helped me in the birthing process, which was really surprising because like I didn't expect the brain spotting to necessarily help in birthing Poppy and laying Tisha to rest, but it really did, and I'm really grateful for that. And it really just helped me let go of so much stuff that had happened on our wedding day. It helped me let go of stuff that had been circulating in my energy field around my in-laws and around my bio family, and how like his family mirrors my family, and it just helped me make all these connections. And then it was really beautiful too, because as the brain spotting was going on, it started in identifying a safe space in my body, which was my womb at that time, which is really interesting because I was in a birthing process, right? And my womb is where I felt safest. And in my womb, I held my daddy brat, Alex, and my best friend, Bree, because they had really supported me during times that I had felt very unlovable during my hip surgeries. And that's kind of where the brain spotting started. And then it led into marriage. It's so fascinating how everything connects. And so I connected with those energies. And then when we closed the brain spotting, and it's so funny right now, I'm looking to the right, and this is where I was looking when I did the brain spotting too. I'm like, Rose, if you're watching, I know you're like, huh. But so anyways, it ended with Alex as well. So it was interesting because like it started with safety in Alex and it ended with safety in Alex as a safe place to let go and close out the brain spot, or a safe place to go and then complete the brain spotting session. And then it was just interesting because Alex is like masculine. He's like father energy, which there was a lot of father wound energy. And then I think that father wound energy was getting in the way of me fully receiving Chris as he is and accepting him as he is. And then meanwhile, Chris is over there at home doing like his mushroom journey, shifting into the masculine. So as I'm healing my father wound journey, there my husband is like on the other side of town, shifting into the masculine. And it was just this beautiful unified effort of two souls coming back together in love and owning up to their parts, and where like we had lost sight of love in our marriage. And yeah, it was really cool. I think I'll leave it there. But the brain spotting was just highly useful in that part and helping us in our journey. And then it was so cool because then Chris went ahead and booked a full day self-care day at this place called Lumens. That is just like an awesome wellness center that has float tanks and saunas. And he tried the PMF therapy, which was really cool. And then he was so like nice and stepped into like provider role for me and booked like the same exact thing for me to come home to, so I could integrate Poppy after going to birth, which it was so cool because when I was like there at Lumens, I was like, oh, this is like me getting postnatal care, which is really cool because like when I have a child, I do want to have postnatal care. I want the postnatal massages. I want to have like hormonal supplements. I want like to take care of my body and nurture and thank it for like creating life and birthing life, so that way I can better support my child as a mother by taking care of myself so I can better take care of them. So it was just so cool because I was like, oh, he's already providing me postnatal care. And like, it's just like perfect. Cause then when I'm like the mother of his child, I know that he'll provide me that postnatal care as well. And it just felt so supported and seen and cared for. And yeah, like and it was interesting because going into the birthing chambers, like he and I were kind of like bickering, and then coming out of it, like we were so like supported and in love and unified and reconnected, and like that bond was just like strong, and it wasn't just a bond of us, it's like us with like our creator. And so yeah, like that was a lot of the gist of the laying to rest of Tisha, the birthing of Poppy, and then the reconnecting to love that occurred through what I have been calling like my rite of passage as a woman and his rite of passage as a man. Like we each did a rite of passage those 3 days apart. And it was pretty freaking powerful. And I felt like I needed to share just so I could unpack and process, and also so others could maybe be inspired or encouraged in their journeys. Maybe create your own like little birthing chambers for your own rite of passage if you're going through like a rebirth or a really big death portal, or maybe you're working through stuff with your like masculine and feminine energies in your own relationship dynamics. It might not be a bad idea. Oh, and then the last thing. So then when I came out, it was really interesting because like I found that my inner parent was very activated, and it was so natural too. I think because the brain spotting helped me work in a healthier way mentally, because the inner parent is like a mental archetype. It's a construct in a sense. And I found that I did not want Poppy interacting with any naysayers. So like I was really quiet. I didn't blog or vlog much around this time because I was keeping her energy safe. And then I also didn't call my um mom, my grandma mom. I didn't call her for a few days because I had gotten into it with her for something a few weeks before, and we hadn't quite like fixed things in the way that she wanted. However, like I had apologized and done my part. And so I had Chris, I was like, hey, can you please call my mom and check on her so that way like she feels like cared for, I was like, I need to call her. It's been a couple of weeks. Usually I call her once a week, but I was like, I'm not ready to introduce Poppy's energy to her yet. Can you please do this for me? And he was like, yeah. So he did. And my mom was really quick and short with him on the phone, which is fine. But the thing was, the phone call was made and we act as a unified team, right? And then I did call her a few days later, and I just kept it really short. I like checked on her because she had a procedure done. And then I was like, hey, I got to go. I'm cleaning right now. And then I got off the phone with her. And there was a lot of unspoken stuff between us, but I didn't go into it like I would have in the past, like what Tisha would have, because I need to show up for myself and not self-abandon, and I need to love myself. And that was the loving thing to do, was to not go back into that and to instead preserve and protect the energy of Poppy, the woman that I had just birthed. And so that's what I did. And yeah, like I'm glad that I did that. But it's important for anybody listening, it's important if you're birthing something, if you're birthing a project, if you're birthing like a business idea, if you're birthing yourself, if you're birthing a child, if you're tending to a garden, if maybe like you're going through a whole identity shift and you're being introduced to all these new ideas and you're not quite rooted yet, but you're like rooting, it's a good idea to protect your energy from the naysayers, because there are naysayers out there, and you know who they are in your life. So just keep the energy away from them. Don't waste time explaining or justifying yourself to them about certain things, especially if they don't understand, because they're not going to understand. And really, when you spend all this time justifying, trying to get them to understand, it's just you being loyal to the narratives where like you didn't like feel heard in the past when you were younger. It's you being loyal to like trying to feel worthy and trying to like cancel out those less than feelings and trying to cancel out those small feelings. Like you're trying to be seen and heard, and it's just you over explaining and explaining and justifying, trying to get, like, it's the same story from like inner child wounds that's going on. And like, the less you start doing that, the less you continue explaining yourself, the less you continue justifying yourself, the less those wounds have hold over you, and eventually they heal. The more you can let go of the need to do that, the more you can heal. And it's really important to realize this when you're birthing something, because then you might not have a healthy birth per se, if that makes sense. Hopefully that is helpful for you. However, that's what I got on the rebirth and laying to rest and all of that. Oh yeah, and one of the things I do in laying to rest, because it's like, I'm not like trying to run away from my past at all. And so something I've been conscious of in my birthing process, that I have found useful is like, I thank my predecessor, Tisha, for the work she's done in therapy, for the work she's done with energy healing. I thank her for like her epigenetics per se. And then that way I'm honoring her and not shaming her, because then that's just like, okay, you're bypassing, all the work that you did, you're bypassing that life. Like, just because you have a new name doesn't mean you get like none of the same stuff that you had before, like the problems. Like, you can't just run away from them. So like, I honor all the work she's done, and I feel like I have a new life through this rebirth process. However, I feel that part of the integrity of this new life has to do with me honoring who I was before I laid that part of myself to rest and birthed this new part of me. That's me in my journey, and I have found it helpful to acknowledge myself as a predecessor or ancestor in a way, to help things integrate and come together. And let's see, what else? I think that's it. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day or evening wherever you are. And hopefully this just provides you with like inspiration or insight. Maybe you're going through this, maybe someone you know is going through something like this, and maybe this video could be helpful to someone. So just like send it to them, and let them figure out what works for them and what doesn't. Sorry if you hear the outside people. All right. Like the outside people, that sounds weird. Sorry if you hear the guy with the weed whacker. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Aho and be well. Thank you.